we saw the Detroit Lions find a way to survive a game where their quarterback threw 5 interceptions and beat the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football. Kaz, what were your reactions to the game?
I don't really know, man. I was surprised that it was close. I didn't think that. Well, I was also shocked that Nico Collins didn't play that game. I know that he was cleared, and then all of a sudden he wasn't to play, and I'm like, okay, well, that's strange. And then I noticed that Detroit, obviously the 5 interceptions from Jared Goff. I think Dan Campbell said it best at the very end. He's like, you just had those days. He didn't really think that it was anything that Jared Goff was doing wrong. It was just one of those weeks, and I agree with that. I don't think that Jared Goff is a bad quarterback. But all in all, I mean, I was just surprised it was close. I think that the Texans did about as good as they could do to take advantage of those 5 interceptions. That game on any given Sunday clearly would have been a blowout. I think that Detroit is just that good right now. I didn't really see much from anybody on Detroit's defense. I mean, there's not a lot of yards to really show for anything from the quarterback to the running back or whatever. Just a very still game from Detroit. But all in all, I would just say just a very regular game outside of the picks. Just a very regular game. Almost seemed like a Patriots like Steelers type game where it's like not really exciting. And you got two teams 100%. That have a very high potential to give us a show every Sunday. And Detroit's done it every Sunday since week 1. So it's like, I just think we're in the middle of the season. Well, now beyond the middle of the season, I think we're going to start to see games like this. So Detroit won. I think we all picked them to win. I'm pretty sure. At least I did. But they won, and it just seemed like just one of those games where they got by with the win at the worst, and that says a lot about that team. So said it last week, said it previous week. I'm gonna say it again. Just watch out for Detroit, man. They're the best team in the NFC right now. They are until proven otherwise. So they go into Houston, and they get a good win on the road.
I don't know, man. I was telling Toddy the Lions look shaky, man. It looks to where if you can stop their run game and make Jared beat you, I don't know if Jared's going to beat you. Toddy, Lions come back and beat the Texans in Houston 26-23. What were your thoughts?
So DeMeco Ryans very familiar with Jared Goff, going back to his days in San Francisco, and Jared Goff being, the quarterback of the LA Rams. So he's very familiar of his style of play. And I thought that it showed early on, as obviously he had the 5 turnovers in Jared Goff throughout the game, but he made Jared Goff look really uncomfortable. I kind of just thought this offense for the Houston Texans, obviously they didn't have Nico Collins, who was kind of like a game time decision coming off IR. A lot of people were wondering if he was going to play. I was one of those guys thinking he was going to end up playing, but he ended up not being able to go after, I think, pre-game warm-ups, try to give it a go, see if something was going to work out, but it didn't end up working out for him. The offense surprisingly looked good to start off. I get they have a bunch of injuries at receiver. Obviously, Stephon Diggs is out as well. But the offense was moving the ball. Dalton Schultz was getting involved. Joe Mixon had the big run. Texans were pretty much able to do whatever they wanted to early on. But I thought as the game kind of went on, Detroit started to wear on them a little bit, and C.J. Stroud started to get a little bit uncomfortable, and he was also turning the ball over as well. And it was just kind of a turnover fest for the entire game. And I thought that, with the Lions being able to force turnovers on C.J. Stroud and, get down early on, and the Texans really weren't able to do anything past the second half. And, the Lions were able to force turnovers and force, get defensive stops, and they were able to score off those stops. Whereas the Texans, they were getting interceptions, but they were giving the ball right back to the Lions. And they weren't really that. Like, CJ had a really bad red zone pick that would have probably sealed the game a little bit. It would have put them up 2 scores, I think, late in the third or early in the fourth, if I'm not mistaken.
Early in the fourth.
I just think the turnovers for the Texans were very timely, and the Lions pretty much just capitalized off it. And you got to give props to Jared Goff. I get that he had a bad game, but really didn't waver in those and having those five turnovers. And I get one of those interceptions was a Hail Mary at the end of the half. So he technically really only threw 4, but I mean 4, you shouldn't even like multiple turnovers in a game, like you shouldn't be able to have a chance to win at all. I just didn't think Houston was really able to capitalize off the turnovers like Detroit was. And Detroit was able to get those turnovers in a timely manner. And they were able to turn that into, points. And hats off to the kicker, the UFL kicker. The reason how I know this guy is because I definitely gambled on him. I think he played for, I don't want to say it was the Stallions. It was like, I think it's the Michigan Panthers. That was the team that he played for, if I'm not mistaken. But he kicked like the third longest field goal in Detroit history, which is insane. And those 2 kicks late in the fourth for the rookie kicker, I think like they were super really close. Like he almost missed both of those kicks. Jahmyr Gibbs definitely was a factor in this game, pretty much doing whatever he wanted. David Montgomery is going to do what David Montgomery does. And as I mentioned earlier before, Sam Laporta was a guy who just looked unguardable early on in the game, but it did end up leaving with a shoulder injury. I think I saw something about him being day-to-day later today, reported by Schefter. But, I mean, I just don't know. And Zadarius Smith didn't even play. So it's like, they showed him in the – yes, blue, as we know. They showed him in the like on the sideline in street clothes. And I'm like, oh, he's not even playing. And so that's another addition that the Lions will have to look forward to as they get him kind of acclimated with their system. But this just shows that the Lions can pretty much win however. It doesn't matter however the game is. They can play like shit and against a really good team. This is AFC. This is a team that's probably going to win their division. And, the Lions got down early, but we're able to come back on the road and we're able to come back in spectacular fashion and win this game. So, I mean, the Lions and Jameson Williams came back and he looked like Jameson Williams during the beginning of the season. As Kevin knows, he's on his fantasy team. Very up and down for him, but he's been battling
very much more down than up. Up and down.
He's been battling injuries and he just came off of a suspension too. So at one point in time, Kevin told me he's the best receiver in fantasy right now. I'll never forget that when I was trying to trade for him.
Bro, that's when he came off like a 3-4 game touchdown in like 2 weeks. He was looking like he was number 9 on the right team. I was like, time to sell high. And then,
but I mean, so just the Lions, as I say, week in and week out, they're the best team in the NFC, and they continue to prove it. Each week that we watch them play, they did not cover the spread in this game. It was 3.5. But I mean, it's hard to win in this league, and when you get down by so many points, you can only come back and try to cover by so much. But hats off to all the gamblers that took the Lions live. I think they were like plus 2,200 at one point in time, down like 26.
Crazy. 26
to like 3 at half or whatever they were down by. Yeah.
So